Hello there. Let's have a quick chat about opinion polls because I've been fascinated by them this week. After that Talbot Mills poll came out earlier in the week that had National and ACT being able to form a government and the media jumping on it like instantly, whereas the last Talbot Mills poll that came out that said the complete opposite, that took the media like a week to pick up on. Fascinating, really. The thing I love about opinion polls is that they can give us a general idea of trends, especially the more polls that you incorporate over the longer period of time. But they're hella terrible when it comes to exact, detailed accuracy on the ground. For example, when it comes to MMP, we get overhangs where a political party might win more electorate seats than it's won in terms of the party vote. So you have extra MPs in there, which means the simple majority of 61 seats no longer stands. It's much harder to form a government. We're not going to know how that sort of falls until election night itself. Maybe not even election night, maybe some days after with special votes being counted, because there's actually some changes that usually kick in there as well. For example, National tends to lose a seat to the Greens from international votes. It's just how these things work. And if it comes down to one seat, well, that's going to be awkward, isn't it? The other thing to remember about opinion polls is that they don't tend to count those people that haven't decided to vote yet or who they're going to vote for. The undecided voter demographic is absolutely massive, but when you're asked a question of if an election was held tomorrow, who would you vote for, and you don't know who you're going to vote for, that doesn't get counted for either side for obvious reasons, but that's how it is presented in the media. 35% of people will vote this way, 34% said they'll vote that way. Well, what about those undecided voters? Well, they don't make up the 100% of people who decided that they did know where they were going to vote, so they don't get counted. Confusing, right? Then there's other issues that come into play, like who did the poll? And generally speaking, the big companies that do the polling have the same kind of methodologies and ask about the same number of people. Whereas something like this, from Counterspin, where they asked just about 200 people who they would vote for, and of course, Counterspin's candidate Liz Gunn was the one that came out on top. What a shock. Who would have seen that coming? But based on the numbers that they've polled, well, let's just be fair, it's Counterspin. Nothing they say is any sense whatsoever to anybody. The other thing to remember as well is that opinion polls mean absolutely shit when politicians don't want them to. If you take a look at something like Chris Hipkins this week ruling out a wealth tax or a capital gains tax because there is no sort of taste for it, there's also an opinion poll that said 57% of New Zealanders wanted that, but there's no mandate for it. At the same time, also with the Labour Party, they decided 49% of New Zealanders deciding to want change to the way our cannabis laws work. That wasn't a mandate either. Does make you wonder how much they think an actual mandate is going into an election. That's a little bit scary.